Welcome to Faith, Purpose, and Freedom. I am your host, Kayla Roth. Today, I have the honor and blessing of having Dhylles Victoria with me. She is an 8 times published author, speaker, and she provides so much encouragement and wisdom to everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being with us today, Dhylles.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kayla. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. How are you today?
Yes. So I am so excited just for you to kind of share a little bit
Mhm.
about your books and your speaking and the encouragement. Whenever we talked prior, it was just beautiful. We had an amazing talk. We could have talked all day.
Yes, we could.
So I'm just really excited for you to kind of share with us just a little bit about that encouragement and how you can encourage our audience.
Dhylles Victoria. I am originally from New York City. I am living in Wilmington, North Carolina at the moment with my partner. I am an author who's based all of her books on lived experiences, everything that I've been through in my life. I, at one point, thought that they were curses, regrets, mistakes. And as I started my healing journey and going into myself, I realized they were all gifts that I did not allow to define me. So if I didn't allow it to define me, might as well just create it into a purpose because that's what it is and
Right.
allow it to empower other people. And so I do that with my books, speaking, workshops, different events, as well as posting on social media. All of my books that I've written are my life journey, be it my near death experience or 7 lessons that going through child sexual abuse have taught me, to a book called 365 Days of Affirmations for the Mind, Heart, Body, and Spirit, which is an affirmational memoir that I wrote, to my latest book, Relentless Reinvention, From Breaking Point to Breakthrough. And that's also 13 stories of lived experiences. It's real, it's raw, it's transparent. I'm not afraid to share anything that's happened to me in my life, be it good, bad, or indifferent. And within this specific book, it's returning to the inner child and connecting with her, letting her know that she's safe, that she can express herself, that I'm going to make sure that I advocate on her behalf, to connecting with the teenager who's still rageful
Right.
and angry. So getting to understand who she is, to really, really trusting myself as a woman, because there was one point that I abandoned myself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of the things, and learning how to trust me again and who I'm becoming. Because I feel like in life, we're always in a space of transformation, elevation,
Yeah.
reinvention, whatever it is, and to be able to welcome that, also sit and reflect on the things that is popping up in your mindset. Because I don't think things just pop up in your head for a reason. It's a message, it's something that you may need to pay attention to, look at, dissect. And I'm a person who's very deep and thought provoking. I don't let a thought pass by and I'm like, I don't do that. I kind of like sit with it. I don't ignore it because there's a
Yeah.
message there. There's something going on.
So
So,
that is so important too,
mhm.
just to tune in on that. My grandson was born this weekend, and I first grandbaby, and as excited as I am, I had some things popping into my head that had
Mhm,
nothing to do with him, and it was just things that I didn't even realize I had buried subconsciously, and I feel like sometimes when we just transition to that new exciting thing, things come
mhm.
up that we
Yeah,
never dealt with.
mhm.
And I mean, none of us are perfect. I think we're always healing.
Yeah,
And so I'm sitting there just like, what is this, God? Like, what in the world is happening?
mhm.
But one thing I've learned is it's always just like, how can I learn from this? What
Yep.
do I need to learn? And how can I grow? And it's so amazing because then you have the opportunity to kind of journal. And I love
Mhm.
journaling because then I recognize my own growth. And I always love to go, how would have the old Kayla reacted?
Right.
And then here am I today and watching myself just not react, not act out, not get angry or upset at those things popping in and sitting with them and laying them at the cross. And it's truly just beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you start your healing process and your journey, you can never go back to the person that you used to be. I think there is a level of rebirth that takes place and happens within the spirit. And so for me, it's always asking myself the question, like, okay, why am I feeling this way? And sitting with it where most people would turn to different vices and things like that. I feel like I got so used to questioning myself and always in a place of wondering, like, why is this
Right.
happening now? And what does it mean for my life at this moment in time? Because I think every time you go through a transition, transformation, elevation, it comes with a level of discomfort and it shakes you up.
Yep. It's like the ground beneath your feet is just like
Yes,
shaking for a moment.
absolutely, absolutely.
But,
So,
the growth is amazing.
mhm, absolutely. I think that when we grow in different ways in our lives, we're giving ourselves the opportunity to stretch as far and wide as we can. Because I think that we never truly know ourselves to the fullest. There's always some form of discovery that we
Yeah.
have to experience. And I always say, if you feel like you know everything, then what are you still doing here?
So that resonates well. And when I first, a couple years ago, started stepping into coaching and just really
Mhm,
delving deep into mental health, one of my friends who is a mental health professional, she said something to me that I thought, I was like, what is wrong with you? But she
mhm.
said, Kayla, when you become the smartest person at your table,
Yep, it's time to leave the table.
it's time to leave the table. And I was like, that is the rudest thing I've ever heard. But today, it's exactly how I live my life. Not that I don't
Yeah,
still love those people and still, obviously communicate with them and love them, but it is so true. We are
mhm,
constantly growing.
yeah,
And to grow, that means sometimes we have to leave this situation and move to the next and
yeah, yeah,
transition.
absolutely. Yeah, I think transition is very important in life as we go older because I'm gonna be 50 next year, in February.
And you
And
make 50 look amazing.
thank
I
you.
need some secrets after this, okay?
Not a problem. So yeah, for the last, I want to say 25 years of my life growing into myself and my experiences and things that I've been through in my life from a near-death experience to having a myomectomy, then having a partial hysterectomy, to when I was younger, being married 3 times, to having miscarriages and things like that. Like all those things in my life, to going through child abuse when I was younger. When I look those things, the one thing that I'm constant about is still being able to have unconditional love, not only for myself but other people, and not, judging people because this person did this to me or that person did that to me. And the other thing is holding myself accountable for the role and parts that I played in situations and experiences because I invited certain situations to happen to me as an adult.
Yeah.
And so having to be responsible for those things and learn from those lessons and be able to
Right.
be accepting and embracing that, okay, this happens, but what role did you play? And now moving forward, what do you want to do if that type of situation comes up again? You know better now, then you're going to do better.
Right. And, it's so easy, I think, sometimes. I mean, we are all guilty at times of
Mhm.
victimizing ourselves, like playing
Absolutely.
that part of we were the victim. And you know what? To an extent, we may have been.
Yep.
However,
Mhm.
we have to become responsible on how could have I protected myself better?
Yeah.
What boundary could have I set, but I did not set? And that's
Mhm.
kind of something I've been doing myself because, when
Mhm.
I look at my past, I think, oh, there were some things I went through. And one of them was just to be vulnerable. I was working in a bar
Mhm.
and the last night I ever worked in the bar, I left and I told people there my
Mhm.
plan. I was going home to kill myself. Like I was done. I was
Mhm.
taking my life. I was done. I thought everybody would be better off without me. I have a daughter in heaven. I'm going to go be with her. Like, I can
Mhm.
still remember what I felt in those moments, and it was all Satan's lies.
Yeah.
And so I
Mhm.
walked out the door, and then today I sit back and I'm like, I could have probably just not worked in a bar. I was a
Mhm.
medical assistant at the time. I had other options.
Mhm.
I could have not put myself in a vulnerable state.
Mhm.
I could have protected myself better. There were things in my personal life that were happening that I was not being mature and responsible about. And
Mhm.
so now I sit back and I'm like, "Oh,
Yes.
sometimes these things
Mhm.
happen because
Yeah.
we don't do what we need to do, set the boundaries, protect ourselves, and truly just make better choices."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like sometimes we as human beings, especially women, because we were taught to be, the nurturers and the givers of life, so to speak, and you have to be this way, and being trained to just be loving and caring and kind all the time, where we just automatically become people pleasers and have no boundaries. And then when we start to advocate for ourselves, we are deemed mean or disrespectful or this, that, next, and the other. And it's like, no, I should be able to advocate for myself and express what I need. I should be able to find my voice and utilize it, especially the times where I felt like I had no voice because I was
yeah,
voiceless. Now that I'm full of power within my voice, you can't tell me anything. I can be who I want to be and I can say what I
right.
want to say.
And, I love that you say that because, in that period of my life, we ended up moving to where we live now. And when we moved here, honestly, everything was just amazing.
Mhm.
And then I was baptized in October of 2022.
Mhm.
In March of 2023, my son's best friend passed away.
Mhm.
And I witnessed brokenness, corruption, oppression, things I didn't even know existed in this world. And I was
Mhm.
like, what is happening? And so I seen all these people who had been voiceless. And just that you just said that, it just like resonated with me because
Mhm.
truly I became their voice
Yeah.
and I wasn't afraid. And
Mhm.
my husband, there were moments my husband was like, "You need to be quiet. You're gonna get us all killed. Like, you gotta stop." And I
Right.
was like, "I'm not stopping." And I
Yeah.
knew I had an anointing over my life. In that moment, I
Mhm.
truly knew. And I looked at him one day and I said, "Well, if something happens to me, everybody will know that I wasn't lying."
Yeah, exactly.
And I fought and I fought and I fought, and I thank God I did because today my son is an
Um,
amazing father and
mhm.
doing amazing, and, he is out of the situation he was in and not doing the things he
Mhm.
was once doing, and I thank God for that, but truly, sometimes you become that voice for those that are just voiceless, and I think oftentimes what leads us to that is we were once voiceless.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's who I write for whenever I write my books or my newsletters, or if I'm hosting a workshop. I am providing healing and transformation and information within my books, within my newsletters, and my writing because it is to help those who are voiceless. My content is for people who are done hiding and performing, done having a mask on their face. They want to release the mask, done allowing negativity to, take control of them, done being a prisoner of their mind, thinking that they're not good enough, you know, knowing that they're meant for more. They are
Right.
ready to walk away from relationships that are no longer serving them. And I don't even mean romantic relationship. It could be family, it could
Yeah.
be friends, it could be even a relationship with the old self, walking away
Yep.
from the older self and things like that. So that's the people that I like to gravitate towards because they're seeking something, they just don't know what it is. And if I can provide that it factor for them or an answer for them through my writing, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Well, and, I mean, Jesus came for the brokenhearted,
Mhm.
right? And so truly I would say you're being the hands and feet of Jesus to all of those who feel just broken and lost. And it's so important because for me, it's important because I was there. I
Mhm.
truly was there. And, we oftentimes feel so broken, lost,
Mhm.
like we don't matter. We feel undervalued, misjudged,
Yeah.
misunderstood. And in those moments when you've already feel that way, you can't be a voice for yourself. You're scared to set boundaries because you're afraid of boundaries and
Yeah.
you're trying to please everybody because I know at one point in my life, I didn't want to make anybody upset or mad. Like if you were mad with at me, I was going to like do whatever I could to make you happy. Didn't matter what you wanted me to do,
Yeah.
I was going to do it.
And that
And
experience and being a people pleaser and not having boundaries is so paralyzing to the spirit because it's like, You're made better for this. Like, you deserve so much more in your life than allowing people to mistreat you and abuse you, all because you wanna be loved, all because
Yeah.
you want to be accepted and validated and approved, and when I learned that my approval was enough, baby,
Mhm. Right.
like, "What?
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
walk out that door
exactly.
right now."
And, the best thing I've taught my children is you
Mm,
have 2 choices in this world. You
mhm,
can partner with God or you can partner with Satan. It's that
mhm,
simple. So
mhm,
whenever you're doing something, like, are you doing it out of love? Are you doing it out of respect? Are you aligning with God's will? And I don't mean like, are you doing everything the Old Testament tells you to do?
mhm,
I do not mean that.
mhm,
But are you doing it with a righteous heart?
mhm,
And if so, I don't give a crap what anybody else thinks.
mhm.
And you
I
go.
Yeah, I
And
always
I
go
mean,
back to, not to cut you off. I always go back to this when I'm doing something or making a decision, or if I am helping a person, or if I'm in the presence of another person. I always want to act in kindness and unconditional love and respect, because the same way I want to have that person experience me is the same way I would like my mom or my siblings or my sister or my niece or my nephews to experience the same respect and love and
yeah,
kindness.
right. And it's so important to just feel empowered by knowing
Mhm,
that you're in control.
mhm,
You are in control of what happens to you. So,
mhm,
over the past couple weeks since we talked, um, there have been so many situations that have come to my table. So I am very excited
mhm.
to talk about this.
Okay.
Um, we never realize how many people have gone through sexual assault.
Mhm,
And I always find when I talk to someone, suddenly all these people come to me and tell me the things they've gone through. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So, like, people aren't alone. And
yeah,
I just want to tune into that for a second.
mhm,
My own daughter is a victim of sexual assault,
mhm,
and it was quite horrific. And I
mhm,
watched her hide it. For the record, she is completely okay with me talking about it. I already spoke to her. She is 13 years old and she is preparing to write a book. Very
beautiful.
proud.
Mhm,
Um, she came to me, and one thing I've never done is silence her. And she said, Mom, I just want other people to know it's okay. You never tell me I can't talk about it.
yeah,
And so I want to tune in on that with someone who has been through it and, can just give the encouragement, because I know she struggles. And I'll be honest, there's
mhm,
moments she gets in the shower and she scrubs her skin raw still, because
yeah,
she feels dirty, and that hurt my heart. And she said,
mhm,
"I don't ever want anyone else to feel this, but I also don't want them to, or I want them to know they're not alone." And
mhm,
my mom heart's proud.
yeah.
So let's tune in on that.
Well, being someone that happened to, off and on from 7 to 14 years old, I had to come to a point to realize it wasn't my fault, because for a long time I thought it was my fault. What did I do wrong as a child? Did I not listen enough? Did I not do my chores properly? I wasn't a good girl, stuff like that. And that
Yeah.
plays in your mind, because once you've been abused in that way, it leaves an imprint on you. That's something that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. There is no ands or ifs
Right.
about it. But the one thing for me is having to reprogram my mind constantly, because it's just something about when you're abused that way, you automatically start being negative to yourself, beating yourself up for no, it just automatically happens. And so I always tell people that it happens to pay attention to your thoughts. Pay
Yeah.
attention to what you think on a daily basis, because that negativity just creeps in, and gets a hold of you, and you just become a prisoner of that feeling, a prisoner of the fact that you feel like you're not good enough, or it was your fault. So always paying attention to your mind, because I'm a recovering hypochondriac. I used to think everything was wrong with me, because when I was in my 20s, I was exceptionally promiscuous. I was sleeping around with this one, this one, this one. I just didn't care because of what happened to me. And I was seeking
Right.
for something outside of myself instead of looking inside myself. But at that time, you're so hurt deep down inside that somebody would violate you in such a way. So when that happens, it's like, well, damn, if that person didn't care about me, why should I care about me? That's what it
Mm,
became. And a lot of women go through that. They have a cycle of addiction that they experience. And it could be anything. It could be watching TV too much. It could be eating too much candy. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything crazy. But for me, my drug of choice was promiscuity. That's just what it was. And I had to come to a point where I was just like, this is killing me. It's killing me emotionally, mentally, spiritually killing me because I don't know these people and I don't know what type of energy they're working with. And I am just out here in
Right.
these just transferring all these energies, you know? And I had to come to a point you sometimes when you're going through this, you have to experience rock bottom. Have
Right.
to in order for you to get up. And so when I experienced
Yeah.
my rock bottom, I was like, well, damn, like what are you doing to yourself? You know that you made better for this. Like you weren't created here to just become this. This is not you. And having to, like
Right.
I said, program my mind, commit to my healing every single day, and start the process of doing my work, telling myself you're good enough. What happened to you is not your fault. But also, when it happened to me, it was between 7 to 14, off and on, and I didn't tell my family until I was about like 17 years old because of the hurt and shame, embarrassment, guilt, all of those things. And I know my mama, she would have killed dude and it would have been that's it. It was a wrap. So I didn't want
Game
that
over.
for her. And plus it was my first stepdad, which is the father of my siblings, and I really didn't want them to go through that suffering. So for me, I know I have unconditional love for other people because even though I was violated in such a way, I was more concerned about hurting my mother and my siblings more than getting help for myself. Right. Because I didn't want them. And when I did tell my siblings, I was like, yes, it happened to me. Yes, it was your father, but I don't want you to see him any other way but your father and love him unconditionally because that is your father, point blank. I could have been a sister to be like, oh no, he did this. No, I didn't want to do that because that's not my heart. That's not who I am. Even though I may have felt it, I wasn't going to tell them that because I never wanted them to see their father that way at all, in no way, shape, or form. And to
Yeah.
me, I know that there's a higher power and I took my hands off of it. And I just was like, you know what? The only thing I can do at this moment in time is not be a victim anymore and just rise up and do my work, my healing.
Right.
And that meant going back and grabbing the little girl in me and the teenager in me and helping them to go through this
Right.
process of advocating for them, protecting them, letting them know, you know what, I'm here for you, but also asking them to forgive the grown woman for all the shit that she put them through.
Right. And
Mhm.
so, again, my daughter has given me permission. I talked to her before.
Yeah.
Um, so she was around 11 when it happened, and it
Mhm.
was one of my son's friends that did it to her.
Mhm.
And so she didn't want to tell anybody because she was threatened, like, if you do, um,
Mhm.
you know, Breton would be disappointed. And that was my son's friend that passed away. And
Yeah.
if you tell anyone this or that would happen, and you can't tell anyone because this or that. And so as a mom, I'll be honest, when
Mhm.
she came out, there were signs that I then could look back on. And I was like, and then my older son was like, oh my goodness, this, and this. And then
Mhm.
what was really hard is at this point, when you tell a counselor, now they are a
Mhm.
mandate
Mhm.
report. So now she's sitting in a sheriff's office and she has to give all these details. And then for a moment, she was okay with justice.
Yeah.
But then
Mhm.
that justice turned into he ran and he wouldn't talk to the police. And then he threatened lawyer. He did talk to the police then, and they
Mhm.
had some things. And then he, threatened lawyers and blah, 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 blah. And she was so tough through all of
Mhm.
it, but there's that side that still hurts for someone who has been through this, that it's like
Mhm.
they just get away with it. They
Yeah.
get to make me look like the liar.
Mhm.
Although if they were so innocent, they would have took the lie detector test. They would have took the things if they were so
Mhm.
innocent, but they didn't and they ran. And
Mhm.
it's so hard.
Yeah, it
And
is. It is. It
the
is hard.
the the hardest part for me is after I've talked to some people, I've just noticed that there are so many people that have actually gone through this. and it is
Unfortunately,
heart-wrenching.
it is very heart-wrenching, and to piggyback of what you were saying about, the belief system, because I know for me, when I told, like, my grandparents, my grandma, aunties, and all of them, because they liked him, it's like, "Oh, he would never do nothing like that," and I was like, "But I'm your flesh and blood. I'm your granddaughter. I'm your niece. Why would I lie about something like that?" Because some
Right.
people thought that I was making it up. Yeah, it was to that point, and so, coming also from a Caribbean background is like that type of stuff, you don't talk about it, you sweep it under the rug, it's like it never happened. He was a good provider, he did this, he did that, and I'm like, again, he violated your granddaughter, your niece, at between 7 to 14, and my mom, when I did tell her, she was just like, "I know something was wrong with you, I just couldn't pinpoint what it was. That's why I sent you to live with your dad." And I said, "I thank you for that, but for me, I feel like you should have been able to keep me with you when you were having your exit strategy, because I've witnessed my mom experience abuse." But she only knew what she knew how to do back then. She only knew how to
Mm,
protect me in her the way that she did. And I'm very grateful because she did what she only knew how to do. And like I
yeah,
told her before, I said, it doesn't matter how long this happened to me, is still imprinted in me. And I had to learn to accept and embrace this imprinted in me, but it doesn't have to define me.
exactly.
Mhm.
And that's the biggest thing. I definitely want everyone to know, like, if you've been through it, you are
Mhm.
heard and you are seen and you are validated.
Yeah.
And you may not always see justice come to fruition the way you think it should.
I think justice for me
Mm.
was being able to develop emotional intelligence to learn how to advocate for myself, to still have a fulfilled life that I control. And I say when, who, and how, and also learning boundaries and my self approval, but also knowing what I will and will not accept and tolerate from other people. That's what that taught me about myself. So it wasn't
Yeah,
really justice as in the sense that, he goes to jail, he does this, he does that, whatever. But justice for me was, okay, you are still whole and complete. You are very much enough for yourself, and you are capable of love, and you're capable of being loved.
right there. And that
Mhm.
is right. Yeah, I love that because that is the justice, is knowing that
Mhm.
you get the freedom from it.
Yeah,
Because they
absolutely.
no longer have a hold on you and
Mhm.
they don't get to affect you. And I
Yeah.
think that that is just so important because if we continue to give them power, and in a lot of cases, what I've noticed is it may be a family member, it may
Mhm.
be a near and dear friend, someone in the
Uh-huh.
community you live in. And so you're
Mhm.
still going to see people they've talked to that they've told this or that, and they've told
Yeah.
their version of lies.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, that's just how I'll
absolutely.
put it.
Yeah, but it's the
But
truth. I mean, that's what happens, because I think that there's that it's not only shame on the victim's side, it's also shame on the abuser's side, because for some strange reason, they think that the victim is not going to speak or whatever. The victim is going to continue to be voiceless, but at some point, you muster up that fire in your belly to be like, "Mm-mm, no, I'm going to say something because I have
right,
to say something."
and they are going to try to bury everything you say as if it's a lie. They are
Mhm,
going to tell all of their friends, and there are gonna be people that believe them, and it
mhm,
hurts. It is downright disturbing,
mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's not fair, and it's the enemy at work. But the
Mhm,
more you tell your story, the more strength and power you get. The more you speak up and speak out,
mhm.
the more the enemy has to sit down and be quiet.
Yeah. I said something today on my social. I said, the reason why I share my lived experience is because I benefit from it emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, because it helps to alleviate depression, helps to alleviate panic attacks, it helps to alleviate suicidal ideations and suicidal thoughts. It helps to alleviate anxiety. It gives me peace and freedom to be myself. And it elevates me to speak truth all the time, and it helped me to find my voice when I felt voiceless. So every time I
Yeah.
share my story and I share what happened to me, it doesn't take away from me, but it actually gives back to me, because I am consistently and constantly reclaiming my power, and that's how it should
Yeah,
be.
exactly. And, I love that because I say it all the time, tell your story. Your
Yeah.
story is going to save someone else. Every
Mhm.
test we go through is a
Mhm.
testimony, and that testimony will transform another life.
Absolutely. I agree with that
And
100%.
people just people have to understand that, you know, the enemy wants us to be silent. People want us to be silent. And there will be
Mhm.
people that are like, that never happened, or try to silent you.
Mhm.
However, what I've
Mhm.
recognized is a lot of times if someone is silencing you, there's something going on with inside of them that they've never spoke up about and they wish they had the courage to
Yeah.
do it.
It's a trigger. It triggers them, and then something inside of them is so uncomfortable that they have to speak against it. But deep down in their heart and in their mind, they know, you know what, you need to be doing your work too. You need to be
Yes.
doing your work too. But because this person is so larger than life and living out loud and doing their work and going through the healing process and no longer afraid to face themselves and to face what happened, now it's triggering your ass and you don't want to do nothing about it. That's
Right.
all it's
Yeah.
doing.
And that's why it's so important, scripture says to guard your heart because
Mhm.
everything flows from your heart. And
Mhm.
I use that often because, when you feel bullied or people are being unkind to you in the world, somebody says something they shouldn't say that hurts you,
Mhm.
don't let it get to you because
Mhm.
oftentimes
Mhm.
they're acting out of a hardened heart. There's something going on within them that they haven't dealt with. And that's
Mhm.
not a you problem, that's a them problem.
Yeah,
And and I know that sounds mean. All you can do is pray for that person and move on because what they're saying to you is truly how they feel about themselves.
absolutely. And when people are not aware of themselves, they're not connected to who they are, and they're not
Yeah.
paying attention to their thoughts and their feelings, and they're just existing in life. They're not truly living a fulfilled life where they're like, okay, well, let me check in with myself. Let me see where I am today. Let me see who I want to be. They're never going to understand it.
Right. And,
Mhm.
it's so funny because not only do I coach,
Mhm.
but I coach my children too.
Mhm.
And it's amazing because I've started sitting with them and just saying, like, where are you at right now? Where do you want to
Mhm.
be 3 months from now? Well, like, we're
Mhm.
working this this month on their next quarter, what they want to
Mhm.
accomplish, what they want to get done,
Mhm.
and setting those goals and teaching them to do this. And my goal is hopefully they'll do that through life. And I think everybody should do that. Setting smart goals is not only for a business, is not only
Yeah.
for an entrepreneur, it is
Mhm.
for life too. Like, where
Yeah.
do you want to be in the next 3 months of life in your finances, personally, emotionally? And you can set goals and work towards those each day.
Yeah.
Set an actionable plan. And oftentimes, even for, your mental health and emotional health and overcoming and healing, it only takes like 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
don't have to put a ton of time. It's not you don't have to spend hours. But what I've
Mhm.
noticed for myself is, like, that 15 minutes does lead into more 15 minutes times because then I'm, like, noticing things changing, and I'm like, "Oh, I wanna look into that deeper. Oh, I wanna look into that
Yeah,
deeper."
yeah,
But that's okay. But you don't have to start out and think you just have to give hours of time. 15 minutes a day is
yeah,
all you have to take, and it's self-care.
mhm,
So I think
yeah,
that's important. Phyllis, can you
absolutely,
tell our audience just, if they need to connect with you, if they want to get your books, get your newsletter, attend
mhm.
workshops, where would they get all that information?
They would go to my link tree, and it is the Author Monetization Hub on Linktree. So it's link, what is it? Link linktr.ee/ the Author Monetization Hub. Or they can just go to my Substack, which is the Author Monetization Hub. That's substack.com. And the reason why I call it the Author Monetization Hub is because it's not only being able to empower people with my books and my newsletter, my workshops, but it's also helping other authors expand their reach when it comes to creating other forms of income from around their books. So it's not only about you having a book and publishing it, but it's also going
Yeah.
beyond the book sales itself and what that can look like for you.
I love it. I love that. And I will share all of those links in the description so
Mhm.
that anybody can click those
Yeah.
and connect with Dhylles. Dhylles, thank you so much for being with us today. Do you have any last words of encouragement?
Just continue to be who you are as a person. Don't be afraid to grow and expand and change, and be kind to yourself. Be kind to
That's
yourself.
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Love yourself right where you are. Guys,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for being with us today. My website is www.faithpurposefreedom.com. If you go over to the podcast, you will see all of the podcasts. You'll be able to click on this podcast and get in the description connected with Dhylles. We thank you all for being with us today. Remember, you all have room at this table in this community. No matter where you are, where you've been, you matter to us. I love you all. Goodbye.